Hello! I literally just pressed stop recording on my Easter weekend reading vlog and decided to straight away start my next vlog, this vlog, which is actually not so much a vlog as it is a reading challenge. So I've done a couple of these reading challenges on my channel now. The first one I read 5 books that I haven't heard much about on BookTube, so that will be linked up above, as will my second reading challenge where I read, well, sort of a reading challenge, it was an author trials video where I read 5 Christina Lauren books, and I also read the ACOTAR series as a reading challenge. And now I would like to read some middle grade books as a reading challenge. So I'm going to collect the books together and then show you my TBR for this particular video. Okay, so I have collected 6 books that I would like to read for this particular reading challenge, and I'm going to take you through them. So what I think I will do is I will just read you the synopses on the back of these books for now, and then when I've actually read them I will give you my own personal synopsis. So the first book I would like to read is Furthermore by Tahira Murphy, which has a beautiful illustrated cover. And on the back it says, "Once upon a time a girl was forgot. In a world brimming with colour and magic, Alice's pale skin and milk-white hair mark her as an outcast. For the people of Fernwood, colour and magic are one and the same. Alice is determined to prove her magical abilities and solve the mystery of her father's disappearance. To do so, she'll have to travel into the mythical, dangerous land of Furthermore, but nothing there is as it seems, and Alice may never find her way home." Then, something a little bit darker, we have The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alexandra Bracken. Prosper Redding always thought he was the only unexceptional Redding in his annoyingly remarkable family. As he's about to find out, though, the truth is much more dangerous, because the Redding family luck is down to a pact Prosper's great something grandfather made with a demon. A pact that he broke. And guess what? Demons aren't big fans of forgiveness. They prefer revenge. The next one is The House with Chicken Legs by Sophia Anderson, which I believe is a Russian Baba Yaga folklore inspired story. It reads, "Marinka dreams of a normal life where her house stays in one place long enough for her to make friends. But her house has chicken legs and moves on without warning. For Marinka's grandmother is Baba Yaga, who guides spirits between this world and the next. Marinka longs to change her destiny and sets out to break free from her grandmother's footsteps, but her house has other ideas." Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison. 3 sisters trapped by an ancient curse, 3 magical objects with the power to change their fate. Will they be enough to break the curse, or will they lead the sisters even deeper into danger? And just appreciate this cover as well. Beautiful. In fact, most of these covers are beautiful. I think that middle grade covers tend to be pretty amazing in general, especially because they're mostly illustrated, and there's just so many talented artists. And this one is a soft touch, velvet touch cover as well, which I love. Not that that's important, but you know. The next one is a book that my cousin lent me. My cousin is 10 and he really loved this book and was desperate for me to read it, so he lent it to me back at Christmas. So I feel really bad that I've still got it, but I've been wanting to save it for this video and I haven't had a chance to do this challenge until now. But it's Varjak Paw by S.F. Said, and Varjak Paw is a Mesopotamian blue kitten. He lives high up in an old house on a hill. He's never left home, but then his grandfather tells him about the Way, a secret martial art for cats. Now Varjak must use the Way to survive in a city full of dangerous dogs, cat gangs, and, strangest of all, the mysterious vanishings. And then the last one is a series I've been wanting to get to for quite some time, and I know a lot of you have recommended it to me, so hopefully you'll be pleased to see it on this list, and that is Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger, which 12-year-old Sophie Foster has a secret. She is a telepath and has a unique ability to hear the thoughts of everyone around her, something that she's never known how to explain, and has made her an outcast, even in her own family. But everything changes the day she meets Fitz, a mysterious boy who appears out of nowhere and also reads minds. She discovers there's somewhere she does belong, and staying where she is will put her in grave danger. In the blink of an eye, Sophie is forced to leave behind everything and start a new life in a place that is vastly different from her own. Sophie has new rules and skills to learn, and not everyone is thrilled with her homecoming. There are secrets buried deep in Sophie's memory, secrets that other people desperately want, would even kill for. I think I'm probably going to start with Varjak Paw because I want to get this back to my cousin as soon as I can. I have tried to find audiobooks for these books because I've been really enjoying recently following along while listening to an audiobook. It's just something I really enjoy doing. I find it quite an immersive experience. So I haven't actually been able to find many though. So I've got A Pinch of Magic as an audiobook, and I've got Furthermore as an audiobook, but I think that's it. I wasn't able to find any of the others as audiobooks, at least not on Scribd or through my library. I could probably find them through Audible, but I don't really want to buy the other 4, and I don't think one exists for Varjak Paw anyway. So I'm going to start reading and update you once I have done some reading. Hello! It is now Tuesday. I did indeed finish Varjak Paw yesterday. This one is a very young middle grade. In fact, it might even be whatever before middle grade is. I think, you know, a 6 or 7-year-old could read this. So it was very, very basic, both in content and in writing, but I did enjoy it. It is about a cat named Varjak Paw, and he's like the outcast of his family, and he dreams of adventure. And eventually he flies the coop, or flies the nest, or whatever that expression is, and goes into the outside world. He's a pet, so he's used to living in a house, and he goes out into the great outdoors in search of a dog, but he doesn't know what a dog is. And it's really a very typical learning to believe in yourself type story, but it is cute, and I liked the way that it was told from the perspective of a cat, and he was doing very cat-like things, and I have 2 cats at home with me, and it made me smile when I thought about, as it's sort of an expression of what's going on in the cat's mind while it does certain things. So it was enjoyable, very, very young. I would say that this is suitable for 6 or 7-year-old if they're up to the relevant reading level. Content wise, it's suitable for quite a young age, I think. I mean, you could read it to a younger child. So this morning I have started with The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson. I'm not very far in, I'm only 16 pages, but I'm enjoying it so far. I mean, like I said, 16 pages is not very much at all. This one is a little bit older, so this is more sort of standard middle grade reading level wise so far, at least. So I suspect the story will be very slightly more complex, and the writing will be very slightly more complex. Again, it's clearly quite a bit longer. Varjakpur was only 255 pages and quite large font, and most of the pages weren't full, whereas this one is over 330 pages, and whilst the writing is still bigger than, you know, a young adult book, it's more dense than this one was. So looking forward to continuing with this. I'm actually back to work today, so I'm not going to get as much time for reading as I've been able to do over the last week, so I don't think I'll be able to finish this one today, which will mean my book a day reading streak for April will sadly now come to an end. But that's okay, because I've read 13 books so far this month and it's the 14th, and so if I don't manage to continue reading a book a day, it's really fine. It is now the next day. It is... what day is it? I don't even know anymore. Wednesday the 15th of April, and I did finish The House with Chicken Legs last night. Stayed up way too late reading, as per usual. I think I finished it at like 11:30, something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I read it and I have quite mixed feelings about it. I did like it. I thought that the plot in particular was really fun, and I was captivated by the story. The setting, the house with chicken legs, is really whimsical and lovely, and I really enjoyed that. But the main character, Marinka, is very frustrating. She is very selfish, and she acknowledges her selfishness, and then like a paragraph later goes on and does something selfish again, which I found very, very frustrating. And I didn't feel like there was enough character growth for me, particularly because this is a middle grade story and is meant to be teaching middle grade readers some sort of moral. I don't think it necessarily did that as well as it could have done, and also the overall message of the story didn't quite hit home for me, or didn't quite achieve what it was trying to do, in my opinion. I mean, it did, but it just wasn't enough. I don't know if that makes sense. It's really difficult to explain what I mean without spoiling the story, so I don't think I can say any more than that. I can't remember if I explained what this is about, but essentially Marinka lives in a house with chicken legs with her grandmother, Baba, and her grandmother is a Yaga, which is a character from Russian folklore or mythology that assists with helping people move on after they've died, which is a theme that has been dealt with in many books. I found quite interesting. I recently read a short story in 1,000 Beginnings and Endings by, who was it by? By Alyssa Wong. It's called Olivia's Table, and yeah, so Olivia's Table in here by Alyssa Wong is a retelling of a Chinese myth or legend or fable or whatever you want to call it, where the character Olivia is helping the dead to move on to wherever it is they go next. And to do that, she throws a party for them and cooks for them, and they come and they accept the food, and that helps them to move on. It's interesting because in this, Baba Yaga holds a party where she cooks food, and the dead eat the food and they talk about their lives, and they come to an understanding of what the message of their life is, what they take with them to wherever they go next, and then she helps them through the gate and they move on. So I just found it interesting that there were so many parallels between the beliefs from this sort of almost Russian retelling. I guess it's not really a retelling, but it's using Russian folklore, and this is a retelling of a Chinese fable or myth or legend or whatever. So I found the parallels between those two cultures really interesting. It's kind of a side note, but I did like that about this book, and the world building was really great. The whimsy was really great. I just found myself very frustrated with the main character, and that was the main thing that hampered my enjoyment of this one. I think a different character would have made me enjoy this story more. I don't know. I was explaining what it's about. So she lives with her Baba Yaga, who helps spirits to move on, and to do that their house has to move around a lot, and Marinka just wants to be normal. She wants to settle down somewhere and go to school and make friends, and she doesn't want to be a Yaga, and it's her destiny to be a Yaga, but that's not what she wants for herself. She just wants to have friends, and with people who are alive rather than people who are dead and are going to walk through a gate never to be seen again in a couple of hours. So that's what this is about, and that's my thoughts about it. So I'm going to be moving on to another book today, and I think I'm going to go with Furthermore by Tara Murphy. So I'm going to start this, and per usual I will check in with you once I have finished it. I hope this video isn't too repetitive, but that's really what these reading challenges are, isn't it? Read a book, tell you what I think about it. Read another book, tell you what I think about it. If you have any ideas of things you'd want me to include in these videos, then let me know that. So I am this far into Furthermore by Tara Murphy, which is page 159, so not quite halfway through yet. I know I said that I was going to check in once I'd finished, but I actually just wanted to say hi and let you know my thoughts so far. First of all, the audiobook is great. I really recommend listening to it. I always recommend listening and reading if you can, because I personally find it to be a really fun reading experience, but if you have to choose one or the other, I do really love the energy that the narrator brings to this story, and this is a middle grade book, and I think that the narrator is doing a really great job of making the audiobook engaging for a young listener as well, but it's also enjoyable for myself as an adult. So highly recommend the audiobook. The writing of this is really odd. I can't, beyond saying that this world is a nonsense world and that the writing very much fits with that, so it's very much nonsense style of writing, but I can't really put my finger on exactly how else to describe this. I am enjoying it, but it's so specific, and I do very much think that it's the kind of thing that will either work for you or it really, really won't, and I am enjoying it. I'm going to read you the first page so that you can hopefully see a little bit what I mean. I recommend going and listening to a sample of the audiobook because the narrator will do a much better job than me. But anyway, the sun was raining again. Soft and bright, rainlight fell through the sky, each drop tearing a neat hole in the season. Winter had been steady and predictable, but it was quite poking through now, and spring was peeking out from underneath it. The world was ready for a change. The people of Fernwood were excited for spring, but this was to be expected. They had always been fond of predictable, reliable sorts of change, like night turning into day and rain turning into snow. They didn't much care for night turning into cake or rain turning into shoelaces, because that wouldn't make sense, and making sense was terribly important to these people who'd built their lives around magic, and, squint as they might, it was very difficult for them to make any sense of Alice. I think that gives you a really good idea of the style that Tara Murphy's gone with in this book, and I am really enjoying it. It's quite late now, it's nearly 9:30 at night, and there's about 2.5 hours of listening time left for me at my speed in the audiobook, but I'm not going to finish this tonight. I definitely could finish it tonight. I mean, if I just sat down and went through the whole thing, then I'd be finished by midnight. But I've been doing that so much recently, and I really need to start trying to go to bed at a sensible time, because I'm just not sleeping very well, and I feel like going to bed late and napping during the day is not helping me with that. So I'm going to try getting ready for bed, maybe read a chapter or two more of this in bed and then go to sleep and finish it in the morning or at some point during tomorrow. I will still have time to start another book tomorrow because, like I said, it's only 2.5 hours left. It's not very long. I also think that this is the kind of book that I need breaks from, because there's so much nonsense, and there's only so much nonsense I can tolerate in one go. I don't know if that makes sense to you. I just feel like this isn't a book to binge in one sitting, or at least not for me. Some people it will really, really work for, but again, it's just that very, very specific writing style. I would say that I haven't read Alice in Wonderland. I should, actually. My sister has the audiobook and we share Audible accounts, so I should just listen to it at some point. I probably will. But this really reminds me of Alice in Wonderland, and I've heard that a lot about this book before, and I don't think that Tara Murphy intended it to be Alice in Wonderland-esque, or maybe she did, because in this story we are following a character named Alice in a writing style that's very nonsense-like. I don't want to say nonsensical because it does make sense. It's nonsense-like. It's just the way that the world and the sentences and the descriptions and the expression is constructed. It's amusing and it's nonsense-like, but not nonsensical because it does make sense. And we're following Alice in her own world, which seems like nonsense to us, but to her is totally normal and straight and narrow, as you could tell from that opening section. The people who live there like structure and they like things to be normal and predictable, but they have magic, which to us is wild and magical and fantastical, but to them it's totally normal. But then she has to go into Furthermore, which is a nonsense world to her, and therefore even more of a nonsense world to us, which is why you get those sort of Alice in Wonderland vibes, or at least I do. I've seen several film adaptations of Alice in Wonderland, which is what I'm basing that opinion on. So I think if you like Alice in Wonderland, you probably would quite like this, and I'm looking forward to continuing on. Like I said, don't necessarily think it's the kind of thing that I could just listen to, read all in one go, but I am enjoying it. So I am, like I said, going to get ready for bed and read a chapter or so of this, and then go to sleep and then finish it in the morning. Believe it or not, it is now Thursday night. I know I'm sat in exactly the same place as the last clip and probably look exactly the same as I did in the last clip, but I promise you that it is now Thursday night, and I have finished Furthermore. I did finish it earlier on today, but I had loads of work to do today, and then I needed to film a video this evening and edit it and upload it and etc, etc. So I haven't done as much reading in the last couple of days as I normally would, i.e. I read one book in 2 days rather than one book in 1 day, which is still fine. Wow, it's late. Let me off, okay? So I finished this. It is very strange. It's very, very strange. As I said last time, it's a very sort of whimsical nonsense type writing style, and that just continued. I still continued to enjoy the book. I still continued to not be able to quite binge it because it was just a little bit too nonsense-like for me to binge, but I did still enjoy it. And my one complaint would be that the ending seemed to happen really very super quickly. So we sort of spent maybe 370 pages building up to this main thing, and then 30 pages to just resolve everything in the end. So that was a little sort of jarring, but not entirely outside of the general tone of the story and the characters, because Alice is very sort of taken with the whole adventure of it all and not so much about the resolution part of things. So it fits, but it's something to be aware of. So I liked this one, and which one am I going to pick up next? I think I'm going to pick up A Pinch of Magic next, because that's the only other one that I have an audiobook for at the moment, and I'm going to have lots of work to do tomorrow because we have our oral assessments starting tomorrow, so I am going to be spending the whole day examining students over the internet, which I'm not really looking forward to, if I'm being honest. I can foresee all sorts of things going horribly wrong in terms of how the technology works, but we shall persevere, and hopefully it won't be as disastrous as I fear it will be. But that just means that reading A Pinch of Magic will be a little bit more realistic for tomorrow. Oh wow, my hair looks great. We'll just pretend that that's not happening. I have now finished A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison, and I really enjoyed it. It was really, really good. Firstly, it's now Saturday evening. Yesterday was a super busy work day for me, and then, as you may have seen, my Fairy Loot Chain of Gold box arrived in the evening, so by the time I had got ready, filmed the unboxing, edited it, uploaded it, etc, etc, I hadn't really made much reading progress. So I've read the vast majority of this today. I think I was probably around the 100-ish page mark by this morning. So I've read the vast majority of this evening, in fact, because I had a really bad night's sleep, which is becoming a pattern, is it not? This story follows 3 sisters, Betty, Fliss and Charlie, and their family is cursed, and they have some magical objects, and they want to try and find a way to break the curse. And that's what this story is, and I really, really enjoyed it. The writing style was lovely. It felt very whimsical and fun. One of the things I really like about middle grade fiction is that it's just very fast paced. There's no sort of mucking about. Interestingly, I find pacing in young adult literature the most difficult for me, because with middle grade you just get straight to the point all the time, and with adult it's all sort of dragged out quite a lot, but that's because there's so much, I'm talking specifically about fantasy here, world building and character development, and there's generally lots of space allowed for all of that kind of thing to happen. Whereas young adult is trying to bridge the gap between being fast paced but having some of that world building and character development happening, and sometimes it really works and sometimes it misses the mark, which is sad. So that's why I'm really quite enjoying middle grade fiction. I think that this one is probably my favourite that I've read for this challenge so far. It was just that perfect sweet spot of great characters, whimsical, magical world with fast plot and great relationships being built. It's of course a trio of sisters in this one, which is really fun, and I thoroughly enjoyed it. There are actually more books in this series that follow these characters, so I'm definitely going to pick those up at some point because I really liked Betty, Fliss and Charlie. They're all very individual and fun, and I'd like to spend more time with them. So that's it for this one, which means that I have just 2 left. Let me get them. Okay, so left I have The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding and Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. This one's by Alexandra Bracken. 2 very different types of stories. I think honestly I'm more in the mood for Keeper of the Lost Cities at the moment, but I'm not 100% sure. So maybe I will read the first page of both and see which one grabs my attention the most. I'm going to be reading both of these anyway, but I just don't know which I fancy reading first. So first, let's read the first page of Prosper Redding. Okay, that was The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding. Now, a page from Keeper of the Lost Cities. Yep, as I anticipated, I think I'm in the mood for Keeper of the Lost Cities. So this is the one I am going to pick up, which means that I will read this one last, which is fine. Happy Sunday. I'm really enjoying this book so far. I totally get now why it gets compared to Harry Potter, because basic plot-wise there are lots of similarities. It doesn't feel the same in tone, and of course there's no nostalgia along with it, but I do think if you've got a child who's middle grader and has read Harry Potter and liked it, this is a pretty good series for them to get into. It follows Sophie, and Sophie, like Harry, has grown up in the human or muggle world. I don't know why I did that. Muggle world, and not felt like she fit in. She, like Harry, can do stuff that other muggles cannot do. Sophie can read people's minds. Harry can talk to snakes and make stuff happen. And then they both discover that they actually belong to a world they never knew existed. Sophie finds out that she's actually an elf. Harry, of course, finds out that he's a wizard. You're a wizard, Harry. Epic Hagrid line there. Sophie is introduced to the world by an elf of her own age, though, as opposed to a half-giant adult would-be father figure. Or more like fun uncle, really, isn't it, Hagrid? Anyway, and then, I haven't got to this bit yet, but Sophie will be going to a elf school, just like Harry goes to the wizarding school of Hogwarts. And we're very much already, at this point in the story, getting the sense that there's something special about Sophie. She has been being raised by muggles for a reason. There's something different and important about her. There's something special about her power. Very much get the sense that there's going to be a chosen one trope in here, and I'm really enjoying it. Once again, because it's middle grade, it's very fast paced, which I appreciate. I think that kind of thing works particularly well for a story like this. I think the main thing that I miss in middle grade, and I miss this a little bit in young adult sometimes as well, is the info dumping. Now, a lot of people don't like info dumping in stories, but I kind of do. I like it when I'm thrown all of the information really early on in the story so I can start to understand what is going on and why things are important and why things are the way they are. I think that's because I read epic fantasy and a lot of it is very long, and I feel like if you didn't have that info dumpy section at the beginning, you'd spend the vast majority of a book or series not really having a good understanding of what's going on or why. And that still feels like the case even when you do get some info dumping. I know most people don't like info dumps. That's fine. But I kind of do like them. Maybe I'm weird. But you definitely don't get that so much with middle grade or young adult literature. I suppose partly because, especially with middle grade, you can kind of allow a child's innocence and imagination to make the story even better. And how old am I? 29. I think I've been saying I'm 28, but I'm not, I'm 29. Oh dear. I'm 29 and I'm not particularly imaginative as a person, so I don't necessarily add that magic myself to a story, which is maybe why I like info dumping. I don't know, but I do like it, and I do miss it in here, and I keep kind of going, oh, I really want an info dump right now so I can answer lots of questions. And you know, we're not getting the answers to those questions for reasons as well. It's partially the anticipation of the story, but I am really enjoying this so far. I probably won't finish it today because there's 340 pages left, so I don't think I'll be able to finish this today, but I hope I'll be able to finish it tomorrow because I really am interested to see where this is going, and I can already tell I'm going to be ordering the rest of the books in this series. I totally understand why Reagan from the Channel Peruse Project raved about this so much when she first discovered it. When was that? Like, not this Christmas just gone, but the Christmas before, I think, is when she discovered this series, and she was raving about it on her channel, and at that point I knew I wanted to pick it up. It's just taken me a while to get to it. You all understand the curse or joy, or however you want to take it, of the very long TBR with a million things that you want to read and not enough time to read them in. But I finally got to it. I'm really glad I've picked it up. It's really great. I think it might be surpassing A Pinch of Magic, which was my favourite out of this challenge video so far. I've enjoyed everything I've read so far, but this one is gripping me the most. I've had to turn on one of my big lights because it's quite late now. It's about 11:30, so the lighting in here is really pretty bad, but I am on page 352 and this book is so darn good. I am loving it. I don't want to go to bed. I want to carry on reading. I am going to carry on reading for a while because I'm not sleepy. This is just the thing, isn't it? You go to bed and you have a night's sleep and you wake up in the morning really much later than you think you should, and you still feel tired. And then you go throughout the day feeling super exhausted. And then, just as it's about a sensible time, I'm being blinded by this light. Hold on. There we go. That's a bit better. Now I'm not being blinded so much. Then you get time for bed and you don't feel tired anymore, and you're completely gripped by the book that you could quite easily have finished in the day if you just started reading it at an appropriate time. But you didn't start reading it at an appropriate time. You started reading it at 4 p.m. because you had a nap on the sofa for several hours and you watched YouTube, and now I'm just kicking myself because this is so good and I want to read it and I want to finish it, but it's 12:30 and I'm listening to the audiobook and I've got about an hour and 40 minutes. 11:30 is what I meant, not 12:30. I've got an hour and 40 minutes of the audiobook left. So if I stay up and read this, then it'd be 1 a.m. by the time I go to bed, and I have to be up at like 8 for work, which is 7 hours, which is fine, but it's not ideal. Oh, I don't know what to do. I mean, let's be honest with ourselves, I'm probably gonna just end up staying up and reading it rather than getting up early to finish it in the morning, because I know I'm not gonna be able to wait through the whole work day to read this. Ugh, reader problems, am I right? But in case you couldn't tell, I'm really enjoying this book. This book is really, really good. It's really gripping. There's so much going on. I can definitely see why this is a long series. There is so much mystery, and we're definitely not going to get to the bottom of all of those mysterious elements by the end of this book. Hopefully we'll have a couple of things answered by the end of this one, but I mean, after my last check-in with you, which I was on page 140-ish, I think. After that I was on exactly page 140, so I've read 210 pages since then. But before any of that, I ordered the box set of books 1 to 5 in this series because I want to read the rest of them. And oddly enough, it was cheaper to buy the box set of books 1 to 5 than it was to individually buy books 2, 3, 4 and 5. Then 6, 7 and 8 are not in a box set yet, so I'll have to buy those separately, and unfortunately book 8 is only available in hardback until October. So we'll see how the rest of the series goes. I might have to wait until October to buy the 8th one. We shall see, but I have ordered the next 4 and I'm super excited for those to arrive. They're not going to get here until Friday, which is kind of sad because I kind of want to just like binge this whole series, which has not happened to me for ages, so I'm loving that. And I will then have an extra one of these, so I'm going to be giving this copy to my sister so that she can get on this bandwagon too. I actually have a couple of books that I want to give to my sister, so I'm probably going to send those to her by post next week. Ah, it's so good. It's now Monday evening. It is in fact 5:10. I haven't checked in before now because I've been working all day, but I did stay up way too late finishing Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger, and what I said before stands. This was fantastic. Absolutely loved it. Have already ordered and in fact received, which I'm really impressed by, the box set of books 1 to 5. I can't wait to read them, and there isn't really anything else for me to add to what I said yesterday. I thoroughly enjoyed this, and I'm really looking forward to picking up the rest of the series, and quite frankly I may well binge it, and I haven't binged or felt like binging a series for a very, very long time, so I am super happy about that. I mean, it's so much so that I almost feel like not reading The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding, so that I can read book 2 in this series instead. But I set my TBR at the beginning of this challenge to read 6 new to me middle grade stories, so I am going to read The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding, and then I'm probably going to go back to this series, So, hello! So, it is now Wednesday, nearly evening time. It's sort of 4 o'clock, and I did finish The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding last night. It's taken me longer than I would have liked to read this particular one, and that's for a couple of reasons. The first one is that I've just been really busy at work and haven't had as much time for reading, and the other is that it was really difficult to enjoy this one coming off of the back of reading Keeper of the Lost Cities, because that was just so incredible, and this is good, but that was amazing. And it's always a little bit difficult. You kind of have a little bit of a book hangover, I think, after a really great book, or at least I do. So this one is a little bit tricky to explain. It follows a character named Prosper Redding, as you might expect, who becomes possessed by a demon as part of a curse on his family following a bargain that his great whoever knows how many great grandfather made with this particular demon, and he is trying to find a way to get rid of this demon without dying. So it's quite dark for a middle grade book, which is quite fun. I quite enjoyed that aspect of it. There were some bits that were a little bit gross, like there's some spider eating that goes on, and that really wasn't my cup of tea. So it's a little bit creepy in places, but that was enjoyable in some ways, and I really enjoyed the demon character. So we do hear some narrative and some dialogue from the demon character in this story, and I really enjoyed that. I found that character quite amusing in a lot of ways, and I kind of wish we could have had even more of that. I think the characters are definitely what carries this story. I didn't find the plot particularly riveting, but the characters are really great, and I enjoyed spending time with them. I believe that this is a duology, and whilst I'm not necessarily interested so much in what's going to happen in the story, I am potentially interested to spend a little bit more time with these characters and learn about them and get to know them even more than you do in this particular book. But that was the last one for this particular reading challenge, so let me grab the other books and wrap this one up. Okay, so I read 6 books for this challenge. The first book I read was Varjak Poor by SF Said. I don't have my copy of it anymore because it wasn't ever my copy. It was a copy I borrowed from my cousin and I've sent it back to him. But I enjoyed this one. It is very much on the younger side, but I can definitely see why young readers would enjoy it, and there's lots of fun scenes and great character development moments in that one, so not necessarily one that's really for me, but I do recommend it for the younger end of the middle grade readership. And then I read The House with Chicken Legs by Sophie Anderson. I enjoyed this one. I did find our main character a little bit frustrating and very selfish, and she didn't seem to learn from her mistakes as much as I would have liked her to, but I really enjoyed the world that this story was set in and the adventures our character went on. Then I read Furthermore by Tara Murphy, which is a very strange book. It's very Alice in Wonderland, Nonsense Land-esque, but it is enjoyable. The plot in this one particularly was very fun and fast-paced and interesting to follow. I felt like the pacing was good for the majority, although the ending felt a little bit rushed. It is part of a duology, I believe, but I'm not sure if I'll pick up the second book because I'm pretty happy with how this one ended. Then we have A Pinch of Magic by Michelle Harrison, which was just a lovely, lovely book. The relationships between the sisters in this story were so fun and so lovely, and the plotline was really interesting and fast-paced, and the world was easy to fall into, and I think that this is a really, really great one. It also has a sequel that I'm not sure if I'll pick up because, again, I was really happy with how this story wrapped up, but because I did really enjoy the characters, I will keep the sequel in mind if I ever feel like I want to spend some more time with them that isn't a reread. Then my favourite book from this particular reading challenge was Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger. This book is just fantastic. It has it all. Great characters, great world, fast-paced, fascinating plot, plenty of mysteries still to be solved in the rest of this series. There are currently 8 books. The author is working on a 9th. She has a 9-book deal for this particular series, so that might be the conclusion, or she might decide that she wants to write more in this world. Either way though, I thoroughly enjoyed myself reading this one, and I've bought the next 4 books in the series so far, and I'm really looking forward to picking those up. And then finally I read The Dreadful Tale of Prosper Redding by Alexandra Bracken, which was a little bit more dark and creepy and spooky. I think this one is actually one that would be really great to read around Halloween time if you like that kind of time of year. I've never been much into Halloween, but this would really set the scene. And again, really great characters in this one. Plot could have been a bit more exciting in my opinion, but I did really enjoy the characters, especially the demon, who I found really quite funny and amusing to spend time with. Again, there is a sequel, I believe it's a duology, and I may well pick that one up too. So that has been my middle grade reading challenge. I actually really enjoyed myself. I love reading middle grade fiction, and it was really nice to spend just over a week just reading middle grade stories and getting absorbed into these whimsical, easy to read worlds. I'm really looking forward to keep carrying on with the Keeper of the Lost Cities series. If you've read any of these books, then let me know what you thought of them down in the comments section below, and if you have any reading challenges you want to set for me, then let me know those as well. I have quite the list of reading challenges forming, so you will be seeing more of these types of videos. So if there are any specific ones you want me to do, let me know. And that's it for this one. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video and want to see more like this from me, then do think about hitting that subscribe button, and I hope to see you here again soon. Thanks. Bye.